Today on How We Eat at Deep South, I've laid out some meat for the next couple of days. This that says wild game is actually venison. We made sausage with it. It's got a little bit of beef in it, but it's mainly venison and seasoning. So we will be using that with our eggs every morning. The chicken thighs, I'll put those in a crock pot in a little while. Those will probably be supper. And the ground beef. We have a local butcher that we go and we usually buy anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds of ground beef at a time. Something that we can pretty much trust. And for breakfast this morning, it's eggs. We do that every morning. The chickens are laying well, so why not use what you have? We had eggs, pancakes, and Danny eats a few pecans. So breakfast is the same most mornings. Something else I didn't really talk about the first day. I make this pan at least once a week. Danny comes through and snacks on this. This was a blonde brownie, kind of a cakey-like substance. It's all gluten-free. I'll probably make one later today and show you what we're doing. Danny's cookies, the pecan cookies, he snacks on those. So these are two things that he uses quite often. Today's food storage thing is going to be on potatoes. We planted about 40 pounds of potatoes last year and harvested 420 pounds. A lot of people wanted to know, what are you going to do with that many potatoes? We canned, I don't even know how many jars, but we canned several times, and so we had a lot in jars, which is our emergency situation during the winter months, if we have to have them, because we have fresh potatoes during the winter. And this is one way that we like them. I put olive oil on the pan and I just slice these and sprinkle a little more olive oil on the top. I bake them in the oven, and we have French fries. Now they're not the kind that you get in the store that you have lots and lots of grease. It's more like steak fries, but they're baked. So with our potatoes, we are going to be planting again this week. The ones that were in the cellar have already started sprouting, so these I had to buy. There's about 3 months out of the year that I do have to buy potatoes if I want fresh potatoes or baked potatoes. Everything else I will use my food storage, my canned jars, and we will eat potatoes made with that. I can make potato salad with my jarred potatoes, mashed potatoes. We can do anything that you use potatoes in. You can put it in soups and stews. It doesn't matter. Your jarred potatoes can be used for all those instances. So anytime anybody asked, what are you going to do with that many potatoes, ask them how many times they stop and buy French fries. Because I had one person tell me, I don't use but about 5 pounds of potatoes a month, and sometimes those ruin. So they were thinking fresh potatoes, that's all they use. But if they go back and calculate all month how many times they stopped and got French fries, how many times they ate anywhere, whether it was at their house or somebody else's, that they had something with potatoes in it. If you bought a can of soup, it has potatoes in it. If you bought a hamburger helper mix that has potatoes in it, if you calculate all those times, you would realize you eat more potatoes than you think. Potatoes are in almost everything. So next time you think, I don't use that many fresh potatoes, maybe you don't. But if you could not buy things in the store or go to a place to buy French fries, how many times would you actually use potatoes? 420 pounds is not really enough for us because we eat a lot of potatoes. So next time you think about it, add up how many potatoes you use per month. Lunch for me today is a baked pork chop, some homemade fries baked, some of our tomatoes and peppers from the greenhouse, and some cheese. Danny's is a couple of kosher hot dogs, Hebrew National, with a few tomatoes and peppers, cheese, and homemade fries that were baked. Okay guys, this is a little medium-sized crock pot. This is one of the best things I've ever had. For just a couple of people, this is perfect. I put 4 thighs in here, 4 chicken thighs. I've added my onions and my Marconi peppers, as you can see. Marconis are some that were frozen. I put in the freezer. I just took them out. I have some fresh ones, but I like to eat those by themselves. That's what I had for lunch. But this crock pot is perfect for 2 people, and this will give us 2 meals. As we continue on with our food storage, I'm going to talk about snacks a little bit. Danny likes what I call a blonde brownie, only it's not really a brownie because it turns into more of a cake-like thing. I cut back the sugar on a blonde brownie mix, and then I added a touch more flour. So what I'm going to do is it's about 3/4 of a cup of sugar, about, I think it's 1.5 cups of flour. I'll have to check on the flour to make sure. 4 eggs, salt, baking powder, and about 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to use my canned butter in this recipe. Now I'm going to show you a few clips. Something your pantry should never be without. Number 1 is salt. As you can see, salt and coffee are 2 things that I really have prepped or stored, or whatever you want to call it, hoarded. That's something I really keep a lot of. Then the other is baking powder. Okay, as you can see, I have baking powder, plenty of it. I also have coconut oil, honey, cornstarch, that sort of stuff. I have all these things stored here, even kosher salt. The cabinet is about full of that kind of stuff. Then another thing is my canned butter. I was putting butter in the freezer and storing as many as 12-15 pounds of butter at least, and I decided that was not the best way to store it, so we started canning butter. I watched Starry Hilder's canning butter series, and it works wonderfully. I'm going to link it up above. The canned butter that we have here is only one of our storages. I have 2 places that I keep canned butter. This is something that we do every couple of months. We can more and to add into what we've just used. So now I'm going to make this little cake, and this will be a snack for Danny, but I just wanted to show you. Number 1 is to have proper storage in your pantry. We have plenty of all these ingredients, and the eggs are fresh. The flour I have a supply of 2, but have a proper storage. If you buy 1, buy 2. One item I forgot was the vanilla. I have a supply of vanilla. And I also have vanilla beans and the means to go ahead and make my own vanilla. Okay, what I did here, this is cornbread, but I added squash. I added a pint of drained squash that we canned. And this will feed me and Danny for several meals. There's 8 of these. Most of them came out pretty good. And when these cool off, I will take and put them in a Ziploc bag for tomorrow. And so we have cornbread for several days. But again, we're using a pint of our squash that we canned. That just makes the cornbread moister, plus it makes it go a little further. And you're getting vegetables, and while I was cooking in the oven, I'm baking sweet potatoes. So we're having baked sweet potatoes for a couple of days. I bake more than I need for 1 meal. I do enough for at least 2 meals. Tonight for supper we're having a baked sweet potato that I cut in half because they're so large. I put honey on both of them. Danny gets half, I get half. We have green beans, chicken that's been cooked in the crock pot. These are chicken thighs. Our cornbread that has squash in it. So this is tonight's meal. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. From Deep South Homestead.